Hello, YouTubers. Welcome back to the channel. Smishek's cousin Bates, Rick Smishek here. Um, Today, this is the last episode of chapter 5 of the book Knowing Bass. This was to me, it was the most interesting chapter so far. But if you're like me, your tackle box is probably a kaleidoscope of colors. I mean, you've seen these. These, you know, we have some greens, you know, on and on and on. Okay. And we'll look at these here towards the end of the video. When it comes to strike responses to colors, most colors are pretty even. Okay. There's not a whole lot of difference in just how many strikes each color elicits. Although reds brought the fewest, and a laminate in the test, a black and silver laminate, far outdid the solid colors. Now, that doesn't mean that every laminate color is going to be fantastic. It just means that in this particular test, the black and silver did. But solid colors were all pretty much the same. So, but this doesn't mean that color selection is unimportant, because it is. I mean, the bass has to be able to see the lure, right? And the more readily that the bass can see the lure, the more likely it is to try to eat it. Okay, I mean, if it can't see it at all, it's not going to eat it. If it can't hear it, smell it, whatever, it has to be able to detect it. So, but in bodies of water where, say threadfin shad, and there's reservoirs where bass almost exclusively eat the threadfin shad, and they follow them around and just grub on them constantly. In those cases, then lure color is probably really important then, because if you're using something that doesn't at least resemble a threadfin shad in some way, then you're probably not going to catch very many fish, okay? Because that's what they're used to eating. They've almost become hardwired. Well, not hardwired in this case. They would be conditioned. Hardwired is something they're born with. But overall, though, we might be better off focusing on lure detectability as opposed to lure color. I was just talking about how if they can't see the color, well, if they can't detect it at all, you know, it might as well be invisible. Might as well not even exist, like a motionless bait. If it's not moving at all, the bass hasn't seen it move, well, then it's not going to try to eat it. But when we're trying to catch that fish, and we need to consider how the bass is going to see the lure. Is it going to be off the side? Is it going to be up above him? Is it going to be down below him? Behind him? What's the backdrop going to be like? Far too often as fishermen, while we're standing in our boat or standing on the shoreline, we think about how it would look to us, or how we would react. Would I eat this if I was a fish? Sure. Well, no, we aren't fish, so we need to try to think more like fish, right? We need to consider how that bass is going to see the lure, how it's going to hear it, what's the environment around that we were trying to catch it in. Okay, is there a lot of solids, or rocks, or logs, whatever. Okay. Night fishing. Bass use their eyes to find food at night. Okay, and how far they can see at night depends on water clarity and the ambient light. Studies have shown they can see for as little as 1 foot, all the way out to 40 feet at night. They can almost see as far at night as they can during the day, given the right conditions. But at night, bass will position themselves so that they can silhouette their prey, where it's either against a, like say, it's against a darker backdrop, so the food looks lighter, the bait looks lighter, or against a lighter backdrop, like say when you're night fishing for and using top water lures, you're night fishing for bass that way. The bass looks up, they see that silhouette on top of the water. Okay, at night, dark top water lures are best. That elicits more strikes, and for the primary reason that's no matter what they see on the surface, it's going to look dark to them at night. So let it look dark. Use the dark colored lure. Bass are excited by sudden increases or decreases in speed. Okay, so when your spinner bait hits a log, a submerged log while you're retrieving it, and it slows it down a little bit. All of a sudden, that sudden thing, bam, and the fish hit it. Guys who have fishing shows on TV talk about doing that very thing to try to get bass to take their lure. Same thing happens when you're coming over the top of a weed bed and your lure snags a little bit. You rip it free. Well, there's that sudden increase. All of a sudden, it's like the thing's trying to get away. Like you don't run from a dog that's angry because you just triggered his chase response. Okay, or a bear. Same thing with a bear. Don't run from the bear because you're going to trigger his. Look, my food's getting away. Yeah, and you're not going to win that race. Let's take a look at some lures here. Okay. This lure here, it's a Signature Series lure, in a rattle trap, but with Jimmy Houston's name on it. I don't know how well you can see that, but that's his name there. But when I first bought these Signature Series lures, I thought, man, this is just dumb. Well, now after reading the book, I understand why Jimmy Houston wanted a rattle trap that looked like this, because in those southern reservoirs where he's fishing most of the time, the dirty water that's in there, well, that's the perfect color for that. This rattle trap here in Fire Tiger, it has greens and yellows and a little bit of orange on it. This should be fantastic in clear water or even lightly stained water. Okay, good choice for that one. This chromed one would be great during the middle of the day when it's nice and sunny out, clear water, so you get all that flash. It'd be a good lure selection then. Here's another one. This one has, I don't know how well you can see it, but inside there's a piece of like a divider piece that has all kinds of like holographic markings on it. Okay, it has a bunch of rattles in that rattle chamber. Okay, it's longer than it is wide, even from this way. Okay, so it meets that criteria. It's probably with the bill, it's probably a little over 3 inches long, but it's still probably in most basses' range to eat. This here is another Signature Series lure. This one is probably a better choice for those southern reservoirs again. And this one, the shape is more towards that longer than it is wide in both this vertically and the width of the bait itself. So there's a lot of different crankbaits out there. There's a lot of different lipless crankbaits. There's every kind of bait you can imagine. There's a lot of different styles, colors, whatnot. And hopefully this chapter helps us pick colors that are better suited to the type of fishing and the types of bodies of water that we fish in. Okay, with that said, this is the end of chapter 5. Yeah, this is my favorite chapter, learning how I'm screwing up, on a lot of my lure selections. But you learn by experience, you learn by making mistakes, and I've made plenty of them. Maybe that's why I didn't catch as many fish this summer as I thought I was going to, but hopefully next summer I'll catch more. So if you liked what you saw, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. Both of those things really help the channel. I appreciate every subscriber, every like, every second that you guys spend watching. Well, you're watching little old me, Well, maybe not so little, I'm kind of a fat guy. Although since I moved to Lincoln, I've lost almost 20 pounds, so I'm not as fat of a guy as I used to be. Oh, that's a good thing there, right? But I want to share the videos too. That helps. Not many of you do that, and that's okay. But for those that do, thank you very much. And if you're considering it, I encourage you. Until next time, folks, tight lines, calm waters, and God bless.